palace. Rule Britannia. God bless America. Other places not so much. But God bless America. Each place they think their place is the best. And of all the places in their country, then Auckland is the best. There are many, many thousands and thousands of people in Auckland. But among those thousands of people, my circle of friends is the best. And among my circle of friends, I am the best. Everyone thinks like this. Don't be shy. Don't be embarrassed. It's the presence, Krishna explains in Bhagavad Puran, it's the presence of rajas. The mode of passion in the consciousness makes this background music. That I am the best, because we don't say it because that's impolite. But the thought is there. So when that rajas, that contamination of the material energy goes away, a marvelous transformation takes place. The person becomes humble, very humble. And the idea that I am better or more special in some way than others goes away. And when that's gone, then the person feels, you and you are just like me. Just like me. And the true brotherhood comes about. Not an artificial one, but a genuine one. And at that time, when the person sees another person suffering, they suffer. They feel their pain. And they partake of their successes also. So Krishna said, Sukham vayadiva dukam sa yogi paramam mata. The person who's coming that stage, he's a yogi. So the yogi, seeing the suffering of others, he makes a plan, a project, how to go beyond. At that stage, he doesn't know what's beyond. He doesn't know what's beyond this world. He just knows, I have to rise above it. I have to get out. And also, to the degree to which I can do it, according to my capacity, also help others. Get out. Mukti, nirvana, moksha, salvation. So this is the second type of motivation behind any activity, so spiritual activity that we can perform. So the first one is the performance of some religious or spiritual activity, karma, to obtain some worldly results. That is the spirit of exploitation. And the other one is to get out of this world, to be saved, to become liberated. That is the spirit of vairagya, renunciation. So the spirit of exploitation and the spirit of renunciation, these are actually two aspects of the duality of the world. Don't think that by becoming free from the material world to enter into a oneness, then one has become free from duality. Why? Because the very choice between the variegatedness of the world and the oneness of mukti is the duality that we have to become free from. Did everyone catch that?
No.
It's very valuable and rare jewel. You see, it's the nature of illusion that when we are experiencing the variegatedness of the physical plane, then the sensitive person, the yogi, he wants to rise above and come out, going beyond the variegatedness of the world to enter into the oneness. But this is not the actual freedom from duality, because the very choice between variegatedness and oneness is the duality that one must transcend. And therefore, the desire for mukti is the other side of the coin of Maya, illusion. One side of the coin is exploitation, the other side is renunciation. And they are the duality. But the general mass of spiritualists, they conceive or by going towards an unvariegated oneness, I become free from the duality of variety. But the choice between variety and oneness is the duality of Maya. The oscillation of the mind between the spirit of exploitation and the spirit of renunciation. Now, in between these two things somewhere, there's a third type of motivation, and that is called Dhyan Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga. And the soul becomes attracted to that. Why? Because even though liberation can be attained by the path of the Ashtanga Yoga, as by the path of Jnana, if some bhakti is present, there should be a little bhakti also, otherwise they will not give a fruit. Any of the paths don't give fruit without the principle, the magic principle of bhakti. But the path of Jnana, knowledge for liberation, and the path of Ashtanga Yoga can also lead to liberation. But sometimes a person is motivated by following the path of Ashtanga Yoga for its byproducts. And the byproducts are the siddhis, yoga siddhis. So, where was it? Oh, I believe it was in Tauranga. We gave a multimedia seminar about the different types of samadhi. Savitarka samadhi, savichar samadhi, sananda samadhi, sasmit samadhi, sampragyata samadhi, asampragyata samadhi. You are familiar with these things, yes. So, these different types of trance will result in yoga siddhi, the accumulation of mystic powers, and it's real. You can levitate. So can a fly. But the fly will not become as famous as you if you can demonstrate it. Like this. So, to be able to levitate, to be able to bless others, to heal them, healing powers, to read the minds of others, and other mystic powers which I know that you are broad-minded, so that you believe in these things. To travel to another planet, to walk through solid objects, to reach out your hand and pick a grape from Brazil. Prapti Siddhi. They are possible. It's not magic. There is a science behind it. How it works. So the Vedas have explained all of these things in a wonderful way. So, we're looking at our motivations. Karma, to get something in this world. The Jnana, to become free from it. Liberation. And the Dhyan Yoga, which produces the side effects of some mystic powers, which are subtle things, but we can include that as a subcategory of karma in the sense that it's also worldly acquisition. It's just a very fine, impressive and subtle one. Really. That is also subject, eventually, to the influence of time. Time will also take that away. Because the siddhis come by tapasya. By tapasya the siddhis will develop, and when you use them, it's like driving your car, eventually you run out of gas, you have to fill up again. So to develop the siddhis, you'll have to do tapasya, and then when you use them, then the fruit of that tapasya will go down, you'll have to again do tapasya, austerity, and to top up. So, 3 possible types of motivation are there. Then, lastly, the 4th type of motivation. The 4th type of motivation is something special. It's something different to the other 3. And the essential difference is, the 4th motivation is called bhakti, devotion. That 4th motivation is, I'm not doing anything for me. It's the one thing that one of the things that it does not have in common with the others. Whether it's to acquire something worldly, or to get out of the world, or some mystic power, it's all about me. But in bhakti, it's not about me. My Lord, all things are yours, nothing is mine. Even my own soul is not mine, it is yours. If someone will simply utter such a prayer and chant the divine names, then at once their Atma will become mukta, liberated while still being here in this world. That's called Jivan Mukta, being in the world but not of it, like a lotus flower that lives in the water but never gets wet. So the bhakta, bhakti yogi, is apparently in this world, but all the strings of attachment and ego have been cut. And when they are chanting, when they are meditating, by Atma, they wander freely throughout the spiritual planes and serve the very beautiful, wonderful Supreme Lord in ways which at first are quite inconceivable. And so, we're returning to the beginning of our discussion today, which is about discourse. We're having a discourse about discourse. The first type, those who are entrenched in their positions and engaged in the war of conceptual colonialism. The second type, I'm listening, but I'm filtering everything through my lens of interpretation and distorting the views of the other person. The third type, to be utterly impartial and never favor or marginalize any single idea in order to feel I am on the ethical high ground. And then the fourth type, no, to not become entangled in the external details of any idea, but just to ask the question, what's the motivation? Why you're doing it? You see? So you can have a Christian who's practicing his religion to get some worldly benefit. You may have another Christian who's practicing his religion to be saved. I want to be saved. Another one is doing his religion to get healing powers, to heal others. And another one is serving God for God's happiness. You see? And so the ideas of karma yoga, jnana yoga, dhyana yoga and bhakti yoga are not for arbitrary concepts within the Hindu religion, but they are the universal principles spoken about in Bhagavad Gita that apply to everyone at all times in every religion. This is the thinking of the Mahatma, the broad-minded person. With your permission, I might continue. Can I tell something more? Now, if you're full, I don't want to give you indigestion. Beethoven is nodding in approval. Mahatma, the broad-minded persons. Perhaps some of you have studied Vedanta. Vedanta means the anta, the end or the conclusion of Vedas. Veda anta Vedanta. The conclusion of the Vedas. They're sutras, short codes that follow a thread, a thought stream that goes deeper and deeper and deeper. So a person can sit and remember the sutras one by one and follow the thought stream of Vyasa into the heart of Vedic knowledge. So what did Vyasa do with Vedanta? Even though it was 5,000 years ago, even though there weren't many religions in the world, he did not lay down the law. This is it. Listen to me. I'm telling you this subject as it is. Just take it. No. He had honor for everyone. Thinking, my dear brothers and sisters, you have God-given intelligence. You are thoughtful persons. Reflect on this and appreciate this beautiful idea. In India, there are 6 classical systems of philosophy. Who's heard of that? It's called Sad Darshan, the 6 darshans. Yeah. In India, there are 6 classical systems of philosophy. The first one is called Nyaya. Nyaya means logic. So there was a tradition, a parampara of guru and disciple. And this was codified by the sage Gautam Rishi in ancient times. So this is the Nyaya school. And they have a metaphysics of understanding the world, and it's based on tarka, logic and reason. And they have codified the boundaries of debate. What's a genuine argument? What's a fallacious argument? What is an honest way of speaking? A dishonest way? What is sophistry? And so on. So that we can have a discussion which is very clear. So this is called the Nyaya school, the tradition of logic. It's the first of the 6 darshans, or 6 classical philosophies of India. The second one is the Vaisheshik school, and it was founded by the great sage Kanad Rishi. Yes? Kanad Rishi. And Vaisheshik it uses the tools of logic, but it's essentially Vedic atomic theory. The theory that everything comes from atoms. And there's analysis of atoms and how they combine to become molecules and so on, and to build up greater things. And so Vaisheshik is the Vedic atomic theory, which has many things in common with a modern scientific approach as well. The next classical system comes from Kapil Rishi, and it's called Sankhya. Kya means to describe, and San means completely. So Sankhya, to completely describe, or Sankhya also means to count. This is also a jnana marg of philosophical analysis of various elements. But the difference between this and the Vaisheshik school especially is the concept of Purush and Prakriti. That everything is a combination of matter and spirit. The souls are Purushas, and Prakriti is inert. And when the Purushas come in contact with the Prakriti becomes animated, and thus all the world comes into existence. So there is that metaphysical category of the Purush, matter and spirit. And the discrimination between the two leads to liberation. Each school is quite involved. I'm just giving a brief outline to come to another point, an essential conclusion. So then the 4th classical school is the Yoga school, and of course the codes, the sutras of yoga were codified by Patanjali, very famous, the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, and that is the 4th of the 6 classical systems. So Patanjali has also taken many ideas and concepts from the Sankhya school, and he speaks about Purush and Prakriti, but in a different way, and focusing not so much on the philosophical analysis of the elements, but rather on the practical activities of life to transcend them. That is the yoga system of Patanjali. Then, the next classical system is called Purva Mimamsa of Jaimini Rishi. Essentially he said, actually there is no release. Because every time you do something, there's a reaction for it. Even doing nothing is a reaction. Has a reaction. Because it's a neglect of duty. So that also has a reaction. So this world is reactive. Everything that we do produces a result, or everything we don't do produces a result as well. So there's no release. So the art of living is to perform the Vedic rituals, yagyas, sacrifices. Have you ever seen a fire sacrifice? All the Brahmins come, and they have the fire and the ghee, and they chant the mantras. Om Prajapati Vishnu Rishi Gayatri Chandasi Vishnu Devata Upanayane Viniyoga Swaha, and everyone throws the grains into the fire. So astonishing to see. I was just there at the Kumbh Mela. You know Kumbh Mela? India? 30 million people came. It's once every 12 years in Prayag. So just only once in every 12 years, all the yogis from the caves in the Himalayas and other places who never talk to anyone, they all come together for a conference every 12 years at the meeting of the Ganges and Jamuna and Saraswati River. Very holy place. So I was just there, and one yogi had made a huge pyramid of bamboo and straw roof, and it was huge. From miles and miles away you could see it. I thought it was a steel structure or something, and when I got closer, it was and inside they had the yagya kunds, the fire pits, and they had 100 agnihotras, fire sacrifices going on simultaneously. It was very astonishing to see, and rare in this world today, because this is a special dharma or practice which was prominent in a previous age, in the Treta Yuga, Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara, then Kali. So two yugas ago, this was the main practice in that age. So Jaimini Rishi of the Purvamamsa school said, by the proper performance of the Vedic rituals and utterance of mantra, then one produces a karma which is really good. You can go to the higher levels, Om Bhur Bhuvaha Swaha, up to the higher planes, and live there a life of a fantastic lifespan of thousands of years, in an ever fresh and fragrant body, enjoying with celestial nymphs and such music and luxuries there that cannot be dreamed of in this world. So, this was the teaching of Jaimini. Look, everything is reactive, you can't get out. So know the art of how to always be on the top of the karmic pile. I hope you'll forgive me for that crude summary of his teachings. But essentially that's the idea. So that is the fifth, the classical system of the Vedic philosophy. And the last one is Vedanta. The last one is Vedanta. So what Vyasadeva does in Vedanta is he analyzes each one of these ideas. Why? Because he says that all the sages who have given these different systems, they're actually all enlightened. But they have put forward an idea which has something which is correct and some defect in it also. So in each idea there's something valuable and wonderful, but each one has a very difficult to identify hidden defect as well. That by studying each one of them and in the end coming to Vedanta, then one will be able to more deeply appreciate the beauty and the symmetry of the conclusion by comparison with the other ideas. You see? So this is the Vedanta tradition. It is not demanding for us to accept something, but rather it is stretching our thinking capacity and capabilities. It is, they're begging us to see the world from 6 different directions and then come to the conclusion. It's like climbing a mountain. If you cut down a mountain and just go to the place where the center was, there's no view. But if you do the hard work of climbing, when you get to the top, there's a marvelous vista that you can behold. So Vedanta is like this. And according to Vyas, the human mind can speculate or come up with ideas only in certain ways. So even though Vedanta is 5,000 years old and many things have happened since then, but still, every single idea that you will come across will fit into one of these 6 ideas somehow or other, because those are the ways, the limited ways in which, or the broad categories with which the human mind can think. You see? So one who knows Vedanta can understand the essence of all philosophy for all time, past, present and future. because they have gone through the various possibilities of the human speculation and philosophical endeavor. It's a wonderful thing. Some years ago, a famous psychologist, Edward de Bono, anyone heard of him? Yeah. So he made quite a stir in the world of management psychology. He wrote a book called Six Hats. Do you know? 6 Hats. Very interesting. He said, look, the problem is when everyone comes in to sit down to have a meeting, is everyone's on a different page. Right? So someone wants to make a proposal, and everyone is listening, but one person is thinking, oh, if we change the formulas that we have now, then some terrible things could happen. One person's pessimistic. Another person is listening and thinking that, yes, good, we need change. We have to change, we have to progress. Another person is attached to his position. Each person is seeing from a different perspective, and so they're not thinking together. Their thinking power is all broken into fragments, and they cannot get any agreement. So he said, look, in any situation you can think in one of 6 ways. Let's call them hats. So first is the black hat. The black hat means when you're wearing the black hat, before you make a decision, you think of all the things that could go wrong. It's the black hat. Otherwise, you may wear the yellow hat. Yellow hat is like sunshine. You think, if we make this decision, think of all the things that could go right. What's the great potential of it? Or you could wear the green hat. The green hat means we have to progress, we have to move on, we have to evolve, we have to grow organically like green plants. Like this. You see? You can wear the blue hat. The blue hat is the sky. The blue hat means that after trying on all the different colored hats, 6 of them, then from the position of above, you look at all of them and then you make your decision. So this was very groundbreaking psychological approach. Because instead of everyone coming together and one person is speaking and someone saying, no, it's not going to work. Another person is dreaming, it's going to be so fantastic. Another person is thinking, we should stay where we are, it's safe, we know, and so on. But rather, each person is requested, no, let's all think about the things that could go wrong. And then everyone will contribute. So what could go wrong? And then all the things that could go right. The ways we might progress and so on. And in this way, everyone in the room gets a chance to think in the ways that everyone else in the room is thinking. But you do it all together. So this method of psychology was given for discussion some years ago. But 5,000 years ago, Vyasadeva already was giving the state-of-the-art psychology for discussion in the form of Vedanta. By asking us, let us consider the approach of Gautam Rishi Nyaya school. Let's consider the atomic approach. Let's consider the metaphysical approach of matter and spirit. Let's consider the practical approach of Patanjali. Let's consider the ritualistic approach of Jaimini. And then when we've tried on all the hats, then comes Vedanta. The conclusion. After a thorough analysis and investigation into all the possible viewpoints, then the conclusion comes, Vedanta, the end of knowledge. And what is that Vedanta, the end of knowledge? Vedanta, that is bhakti, love. Where knowledge ends, love begins. This is the conclusion. So then Vyas, he wrote a commentary which illustrates practically through many examples the purport of the Vedanta Sutra, and that is the Bhagavad Purana, the Srimad Bhagavatam, the mature fruit, ripened fruit of all of the Vedas. So, I hope that again and again we can come together. I try to give a little insight into the meaning and the process of Vedanta. I hope that we can come together again and again and study these important ideas. I want to tell a life history. Oh, do you remember in Vrindavan we went to a temple of Lala Babu?
We didn't go, but I'll give the story.
Lala Babu. It's a very wonderful temple. I want to tell the history of this place. Once, in Bengal, a few hundred years ago, there was a businessman. Babu means like a tycoon. So those who are very wealthy and successful, they call Babu. So Lal Babu, he was a very successful businessman, a tycoon. And he was always engaged in his business and expanding his financial empire. And he did this throughout his youth and his middle age, and then old age was coming. The twilight years were approaching. So during his business years, his business was in competition with another businessman. His name was Jagannath Seth. And so it was a very fierce competition. And there was quite some bad blood between them. Some ill will between them. After years of, you know what it's like, the corporate competition, it's very cutthroat. So anyway, one day, Lala Babu, he was walking on the bank of the Ganges in the evening time. So if you want to cross the Ganges, there are poor people, they're the boatmen, they take people across the Ganges in their wooden boats. So one boatman saw the sun was about to set. He thought, that's it, I've worked enough for today, I want to go home and be with my wife and children. Seeing the sun was setting, he thought, this is my last trip across the Ganges. And he called out, the sun is setting! If you want to cross, cross now, or you will miss your chance. So that particular day, Lala Babu, he was walking, and he was in a very contemplative mood. He was reflecting on his life and how it had passed so quickly, in the blink of an eye. And he was considering, well, what have I achieved? Other than the things that the worms and moths doth corrupt. Where am I? Do I know who I am or where I'm going? Do I have any more clue than I had at the beginning of my adventure? He was thinking like this, and the voice of the boatman entered his ear. The sun is setting. If you don't cross now, you will miss the boat. And he heard it as if God was speaking to him. The sun of my life is setting. And if I don't cross over the ocean of material existence of birth and death now, I will miss the boat and again be in this cycle of reincarnation. So these words, as if God was speaking to him, struck his heart like a thunderbolt. And quietly, without saying anything, he went home. He packed a small bag with a few things and disappeared. He left everything without saying anything to anyone. In Sanskrit that is called sannyas. Sannyas, to completely cut the relation with all external things, to find the soul. He left everything and he walked about 2,000 kilometers from Bengal in the east of India to Vrindavan, the land of Vrindavan. From all over India, those who are searching for God, they go there. The dust of that place, the sand in that place has a special power. It is a place where many siddhas, many saints have become perfect. And they have left their Shakti there. And even some siddhas are alive there today. So he wanted to go there. He thought there